Hi, everybody. It's Friday, which means it's the end of another long week. Welcome to Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine, and joining me is Brian in Arizona. We're the two diehards. We're the ones who just won't quit on a period of time that most sports fans just say, fuck it. We're saying, fuck it, but we'll talk about it.
Cause I get paid for doing this.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's amazing, that there are people who make a living doing podcasting, and I've been doing it for 16, almost 17 years now, and I've never made a dime off it, never wanted to make a dime off it, and quite honestly, not good enough to make a dime out of it. So I'm more interested in the technical aspects of running a show and getting it on the air than I am monetizing it. Hi, Big Lurker UK. How you doing? There's a tried and true fan joining us, even though there's still not a whole hell of a lot going on in the world of sports. I did want to start out with something, though, that has become painfully apparent to me in the NBA. I grew up watching an NBA, and I can tell you from the time, in the 60s, it was Jerry West and Bill Russell and John Havlicek and Wilt Chamberlain. Then in the 70s, there was Walt Clyde Frazier and Willis Reed. Then there was, of course, Lou Alcindor / Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Then there was Magic Johnson. There was Larry Bird. The people who were, and then Michael Jordan, of course. And the players were just, the stars were stars, And you could identify only with the fact that, God, when they had to, they came through. And that's what kind of built the NBA and has directed the NBA in the direction that it's gone, which is the superstar mentality. The problem is times have changed, and not all of these superstars are exactly dedicated to their craft like the old ones used to be. We'll take a guy like Bill Russell. Bill Russell wasn't out there to score 30 points a night. Bill Russell did all the things like the rebounding and the block shots and the stuff that was the dirty work. He was like the guy who got his fingernails dirty. So that guy's like Havlicek could have open shots. That JoJo White would get open shots. That, all of them who played beside him would share in the process of winning games. But his presence defensively, stymied people in the post back in the day. And, when we go into the 80s, we look at the Showtime Lakers. That was the real beginning of up and down basketball in the NBA, and Magic Johnson leading the charge at 6'9", and Abdul-Jabbar finding his way out west, which you knew it wouldn't take him very long to do, and the skyhook and all the games won. Larry Bird with the shots that won games and just the indomitable will to win. And I'm looking at the playoffs and I'm saying, am I supposed to buy in that their able-bodied replacements, in essence, are Giannis and Joel Hans Embiid? Is that what I'm supposed to be buying? Because I don't see it. I mean, and people are going to talk about, Giannis is a beast. He's a freak. And it's like, all right, fine. He's 6'11" and he can run the point. Beautiful. Could you imagine how good he'd be if he learned how to shoot the ball?
Or play defense?
I mean, it is really annoying to me. And if you're younger in watching this program, it's not that I begrudge young people the ability to ascend to the loftiest of positions in the NBA, because somebody's got to take over. This ain't the guy. I mean, the guy, they won their last game here, okay? And it's been a struggle for them. And Giannis did it basically by not shooting a three. They're standing 5 feet away from him and saying, hey, go ahead and take the damn three. I dare you. And he can't hit the broadside of a barn. How many years has Giannis been in the fucking league? I think it's probably been 5 years now that he's been in the league? 6? How long has it been? I look at a guy like LeBron James. When LeBron James came into the league when he was, 17, 18 years old, he shot a lot like World Be Free. All right? And maybe I'm making a reference that's not for younger people, but, I mean, he was all over the place. He would take shots off balance, fading out of bounds, and his shoulders weren't squared to the basket, and he shot 42%, just like World Be Free did. There are mechanics in the NBA for a reason, and they're not to start your car up in the morning. Mechanics state that you shoot the ball with your shoulders square to the basket. That is how you get there. It's just like hitting a tennis ball. The idea is hitting the ball out in front of you, not when it's behind you. How you get there, what you do from the backswing to the follow through, I mean, people are going to do it differently. They all have their signature way. But when you look at it, all good tennis players and all good basketball players who are shooters end up with their shoulders squared to the basket. So I'm looking at a guy like LeBron, and if you look at his shot, 10 years after he got into the league, he looked like a different guy. It was like all the unnecessary movable parts were removed from the process, and he just kind of narrowed it down, and his shot just became a very compact kind of shot. Well, I'm looking at Giannis, and Giannis is cocked over this way. His spine is going backwards, even though he's not fading away when he's shooting. There's no good body lean follow through. It's awful. His form is terrible. And I haven't even begun, Rick, because you're going right where I'm going. What good are these people if they can't shoot fucking free throws? And what good is it being 6'11 or 6'10 and playing the point if you can't fucking shoot the ball reliably in a game that has really become a three-point game? And Ben Simmons might as well be Gene Simmons out there. You can fucking kiss his ass goodbye, Ben Simmons.
A 70-year-old Jew.
Yeah. I mean, what's the deal? I mean, you pull him off the floor.
I'm the god of thunder.
How could he be your star, part of the process in Philadelphia, if you have to pull him off the floor because they're going to hack him and he can't make free throws? How is it possible that Ben Simmons has been in the league this long and still doesn't know how to shoot a free throw? How is it possible that Giannis can't seal games with free throws and can't make three-point shots? So the answer to all this is, well, they've already been granted with superstar status. They get all the calls, God only knows. They can get to the free throw line anytime they want. What they do once they get there is anybody's guess. But to be honest with you, they don't work hard enough. Do you know how many shots it takes to become a good shooter? And then there's the other guys in the league. We'll take a guy like Joe Harris, former Cavalier, now on the Nets. Joe Harris looks like he has a 12-inch dick on the floor with the Nets. As long as Durant and Irving and Harden are on the floor with him. He just finds an open spot, and the defense collapses in the middle, and so that Kyrie or Harden can't get in, and then he's standing on the wing, and he's got good shooting for him. This is the way that idiots like Damon Jones, Cavaliers, say, I'm the best shooter in the league. Well, yeah, you're the best shooter when three men are following LeBron wherever he goes, and you're standing there wide open from the wing. Yes, I can make that shot. For God's sakes, that's not the definition in the NBA of a great shooter. A great shooter is somebody who finds their spot on the floor. Look at Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant single-handedly took the Cavaliers out of the last time we played the Golden State Warriors. Every time the Cavaliers would get close, man, Tarantula would just launch. But you look at his shot, even the one he missed at the buzzer the other night. I mean, his shoulders get square. It isn't luck that he could just throw them in at will. I mean, the form is there. And he's long, which, you know, it blows the argument. Well, the reason Giannis can't do it is because he's 6'11". Well, I don't see Durant having a problem with range, folks. But then he worked on it. And he came into the league with more of it. And Giannis, who needed to work on that, who needs to become more mechanical in his approach, doesn't want to become more mechanical. And you can't coach these people. You can't tell them what to do. So, and then Joel Embiid. You know, if he had a theme song that they'd play when he came out on the court, it would be Hurt by Johnny Cash. This guy's injured all the fucking time. And he disappears. I mean, his stat line always looks good. But when you need him the most, you know, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Where is Joel Embiid when you need him? And
more like, where's Waldo?
Yeah.
9 other people on the court, and he disappears.
I don't get it. I mean, they're ahead by God knows how many points against the Hawks. They've lost 3 home games, all right? 3 home games. I think that they've lost 2 or 3. The 76ers. What the fuck? To the Hawks. We played the Hawks over and over this year. And the Hawks got better, and they have a very fine coach, and they're being taught very well. Good for them. Trae Young's played good basketball and has been unselfish, and he shares the basketball. But you don't lose 20-point leads when you have star players. And you can't go the last 7 minutes of regulation without shooting a single or making a single field goal attempt. That's just total. I mean, then you got the man who's always talking about the process, and Embiid, the one with the social media and yapping his mouth. Where was he when they needed the clutch go-to shot? Well, I'm hurt. I'm hurt. I hurt myself today. He was nowhere to be found. And they lost to the Hawks. Now the Hawks can win the series in Atlanta. And that should never be the case. You know how long the 76ers have been in the process? It's going nowhere. It's just going nowhere. I can't get excited. I do.
Didn't that shit start when LeBron was in fucking Miami with them?
What stuff?
The whole, well, it's a process.
Yeah, that was when the old, I forgot the name of the GM, Hinkie. Sam Hinkie was over there, and and we're going to let Hinkie draft all these people, and then we're going to get rid of his sorry ass and bring in a whole new crew. We're going to bring in, what was the guy's name? Brett Brown? Was that the name of the head coach? I don't remember. They fired him because he couldn't get over the hump, and now it's Doc Rivers. And to be honest with you, as long as Embiid's there, until he proves that he can get it done, they ain't going to get it done. So, if the people that you consider stars in your game are like this, how exciting can it be, you know, to be watching this?
Well, a lot of it is they're taking guys who in the past would be a secondary player and then foistering this idea that they're somehow godlike human beings and perennial all-stars and perennial finals favorites.
Yeah, somebody explain to me what's happened to, and we'll get to you in a minute, Joe Shipley. We will, because this all will tie in. I mean, the Boston Celtics have gotten rid of Kemba Walker. Now, why the Celtics thought that Kemba Walker was the right guy for their team? He's undersized, can't play a lick of defense, and doesn't shoot a high percentage, but gets hot, but is hot and cold. And they didn't get shit for it, you know? Now they've got 3 2021 picks, all right? So they're going to start all over again. But I'm just saying, well, what happened the last time? Wasn't Kyrie Irving, wasn't that supposed to be the thing that was going to get you over the hump there? And besides one shot, for us, what did Kyrie Irving ever do that would make him, you know? And he's hurt. And Harden's hurt. Harden can't hardly move.
Yeah, he really shouldn't even be out on the fucking floor.
No, I mean, he stole a ball and he couldn't even drive down the court to lay it in. He's literally, you know. So, not real.
He's really half the man he used to be. There's your Beatles reference.
There you go. Thank you. And Joe, in Cleveland with the Indians, we ripped the front office.
Or whatever the hell they come up with next for a fucking name.
The ownership of the Indians takes a hit because they're keeping the payroll low.
They don't just take a hit, man. They're taking the whole fucking ball.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're just keeping
the tray of brownies.
Well, what they're doing is keeping their payroll ultimately low. But they are 10 games over 500. They're 38-28. The fact that the White Sox aren't losing either, and they're 4 games ahead of the Indians, still doesn't change the fact that you may not be very excited. They've opened up Progressive Field to full capacity, and still only 11,000 people are showing up because they really don't care. Because we got one guy, and that one guy is Jose Ramirez, who's going to be gone. As soon as the opportunity arises, he's going to be gone and go to a winning baseball team, and we'll be stuck there holding our dicks. Again. And Joe Shipley, the Baltimore Orioles are the worst baseball team that I have ever seen, besides the beginning of the New York Mets. Right now, that team can't field, can't hit, can't pitch, has no bullpen. I don't get it. And then I realized he just sat on Manny Machado for some reason, thinking that he was going to re-sign and stay in that shithole organization. And when he left, you got nothing for him. Not a thing for Manny Machado. And the bottom line is you don't have anybody in the lineup. And then, you know, with the injuries that are happening around the league and all of that, you don't have anybody. And you got these guys starting games. Who in the hell knows who they are? The guys coming in out of the bullpen are melting down. And how do you allow Jose Ramirez, who's giving himself up in a rundown, to escape, get to second, get up, and there's nobody covering third? This is like the fucking Bad News Bears. It's embarrassing. I'm totally with you.
All that was missing was Tanner pulling up second base and throwing it.
How many is it, Joe? How many is it in a row now that they've lost, consecutive road losses? Holy cannoli. I mean, they're bad. And I'm seeing a bunch of bad teams. And look, if the Indians are 10 games over 500, they're beating somebody. So you know there are some really bad teams in Major League Baseball. I mean, do you realize they had a chance to go against Eli Morgan? If you've seen the show description, I'm trying to figure out whether he is named after a hard liquor or if he's an Amish farmhand. Eli Morgan, who can't throw the ball more than 88 miles an hour, and he has a changeup that he throws at 82 or 80.
Hey, you never know. He could be the great-grandson of J.P. Morgan.
The guy is just not a major league arm. And you know what the worst part is? If you're going to be a soft tosser, then have a sinker ball. Hello. You got to have sink on the ball. Let him pound it into the ground. This guy's up in the zone. This guy's heaving up BP batting practice pitches. The guys are just roping him. I mean, he got through 3 2/3 innings with 5 hits given up and 2 runs, both of them solo shots, but God only knows they were roping other hits off him, and it was just a matter of luck that he didn't give up like a 3 spot on one swing. The guy's awful. But the Orioles still lost to him. I don't know how that's possible. That pitcher is the worst guy I have ever seen the Indians bring up from AAA. And I don't get it. He doesn't have good movement. He doesn't have speed. He doesn't throw hard. And he's up in the zone. I don't get it at all. But the Orioles lost. Just amazing. But it just, again, points out one guy can't carry a team in baseball. When you have 9 guys coming to home plate, a guy like Frankie Lindor's hitting 220 with the Mets. Something magically happens when you become a Met. I don't know what it is, but it's the opposite of what happens when people become Yankees. And it's the same fucking city, and it's the same basic water. I don't know what it is, but it's really hard being the only guy, But the Orioles don't even have an only guy, and they don't have a pitcher who they can put on the mound. We have Savali, who wasn't good, but won anyway because the Orioles bullpen and starting pitching couldn't hold the Indians down, which is crazy. The Indians have no offense. That'll tell you how bad the Orioles pitching is. But Savali has 10 wins. We're doing this right now. We got no Bieber. I mean, and think of what we had, Kluber's hurt again, so he's long gone. Carrasco's hurt also. No great surprises there. But I mean, you look at who should be pitching for the Indians. We're having to throw out, and Tristan McKenzie has been a disaster, just absolutely lost out there. No command and mental meltdowns on the mound. We're trying to go after people with Mejia, who throws tonight. I don't know how in the hell. I mean, Mejia at least has a sinker, and he throws harder. If he can keep the ball down, there's a chance he can give you 4 innings. Maybe 5 if they're swinging early in the count and hitting them at people. But you can't really be a good baseball team without spending money, and you got to have multiple good players. And it's funny watching the Indians. They did finally figure out that Ahmed Rosario is so much better off in the 2-hole. And Cesar Hernandez is having no season at all for the Indians. I mean, he's career 275 hitter, and he's hitting 218 or some such horrible number. But Ahmed Rosario is saying, hey, check this out, man. I want to hit just before Jose Ramirez. They got to throw strikes to me, and he's going to oppo. He's going opposite field, going with the pitch, doing everything they could ask him to do. He's hustling. He's fast around the bases. He's done a really nice job. And, of course, Eddie Rosario finally hit a home run. He's been waiting forever for that, and I think Indians fans have been waiting for him to show some of the power that he had in Minnesota. But Ramirez is our guy. You're not going to continue to see 316 average from Bradley Zimmer. I can guarantee you that. And but it's nice. Bobby Bradley has come up, and I'm not saying he's the answer to anything, but he's actually come up and gotten a number of big hits. And if nothing else, they've been hitting with runners in scoring position. The Orioles, got no idea. And you know what the funny thing is, Joe? They have the most consecutive road losses, but another team has had a streak longer than theirs in the National League, and I think it's your Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I put that in the comments to him. I said they're only 4 behind the Diamondbacks.
I mean, that's crazy. Yeah, so nothing changes. Nothing changes in sports, and if you pay out the gazillions of dollars, it isn't a guarantee that that guy is going to really come around. And in the NBA, it's obvious that it's, you do everything you can to pay and keep a guy for as long as you can. But he's already been given, guys like Giannis and Embiid have been given the title. I don't mean the basketball title, the title of elite. I don't think they have to do anything more for it. And it's really shortchanging fans, and it's a shame. Now we got this pathetic thing. Cole Beasley, the wide receiver from Buffalo. And
former Cowboy.
Yeah, and I'm just as thrilled as can be. Let's have more dipshits like Cole Beasley getting in the way in the heads of the Buffalo Bills and causing a distraction, because that's a team that we're going to have trouble beating, folks. Buffalo Bills are a good football team. But, this is the most stupid thing that I can think of. He went on social media and he said that he's not vaccinated. And you all know that I have no problem with that. If you choose not to do it, that's your business. And that if you notify people, that's your business. And he is pledged to live my one life like I want to, regardless. This is more of what he said. I'll be outside doing what I do. I'll be out in public. If you're scared of me, then steer clear. Get vaccinated. I may die of COVID, but I'd rather die actually living. I'm not going to take meds for a leg that isn't broken. I'd rather take my chances with COVID and build up my immunity that way. I'll play for free this year to live life how I've lived it from day one. If I'm forced into retirement, so be it. Let me tell you something. You're playing NFL football, Cole. You're going to die at 57 or younger. We already know. Nobody would ever accuse anybody who plays professional football not being either brave, stupid, or somewhere in between. There are incredible prices to be paid. You don't need to be vaccinated. You don't need to get COVID. You'll have brain damage, my man. And that's part of your pledge to live your life the one way that you want to, regardless. But I will point out, at the same time, Cole Beasley, that when your time comes and CTE eats up your brain, your loved ones can live their lives the way they want to, regardless, and dump you in a human warehouse. You know why? Because it's that thoughtless behavior that you're propagating by talking this bullshit that makes everything worse.
Oh, here we go.
No. The fact of the matter is that Cole Beasley, he's going to want care, health care, and family members. He's going to want all those people to help him out when he's suffering. But now he's got all of his senses and his faculties, and hey, he's going to go out there and he's going to cough on you. And if you're scared of that, then do whatever you have to do. Well, and I'm just saying that if that's the philosophy that you want to live by, so it is with every person who is related to you. When your turn comes to become, disabled, they can all turn their backs on you because that's not the life they agreed to live. You understand? It's a freedom issue. This bothers me tremendously. Just bothers the hell out of me. because it's so fucking stupid. And it's all because no man is an island. You know, and it's like, I am an islander, and I'm going to live my life my way.
Yeah, so much better to be controlled by the government from cradle to grave. If,
You know
in fact,
something?
you're allowed to be born by
Yeah.
said government.
Well, I mean, if you feel controlled by the government, there are things you can do about that. I mean, you know, and if your idea of sticking it to the man is to drift away from scientific principles, I don't see how that is stopping the government. If you really believe that strongly about the evil forces in the government, not just party by party, but look at the whole centralized government.
No, the bureaucrats are worse than the fucking politicians.
Yeah, I mean, so if you look at it from that perspective, then you obviously have to do something beyond not getting vaccinated, because not getting vaccinated is a lot like taking a knee, you know, on the football field. You know, it's like, I'm making a statement, but, you know, I don't know how that statement changes what it is you're fighting. And if you're fighting governmental control, you have to figure out a way to fight that. And I'm not the one to say how to do it, because I'd be the first one to admit that all of it, from both sides of the aisle politically, have narrowed down everything to the point where this many people have 98% of the wealth.
Fucking Daktar.
I don't know. What is he saying?
Moo is Corky.
He's what? What are you talking about?
Moo is Corky.
Oh, I'm Corky. yeah. And let me tell you, political correctness is not, you know, that's my new thing. When somebody, you know, when it's like asking Cole Beasley to pontificate on the meaning of freedom. I don't know. Give me a break. Stephen Rose is still trying to figure out, how did the Clippers win Game 5 with no Kawhi Leonard? Well, that happened out west. I don't live out west, so I can't answer your question. I don't know. Players don't come out and play hard every game, and they come out lame in the third quarter, or they're starting the game slow. You know how many of these games have started out with teams having like 15 to 20 point leads? I mean, it's like teams just, they can't put together 4 solid quarters. And,
let alone 4 solid games.
Yeah. I mean, just getting
Thank God for the Suns. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, and the Suns are doing it right. They're being coached well, and the players are listening to that. Now, how much longer they're going to pay attention and listen to that, I do not know, because the more that they are given specialized treatment in the league, the more they feel entitled, and they don't work as hard. It strips people of motivation. I mean, you're making the top dollar. You're hanging out in social circumstances and meeting people that you never thought you'd meet in your life. Beautiful women are surrounding you. You can eat at the best restaurants, stay at the best resorts, and you can pretty well do whatever you want to do and damn near get away with it. So it's hard to find, you know, it's so rare to find somebody with the absolute talent, you know. I mean, you look at somebody like Muhammad Ali, who is blessed, God only knows, with the fast hands, the amazing footwork, the ability to evade punches and all that. But, you know, can you imagine having to face that when he's focused? You look at people who are consistently focused in their approach, and they're talented and gifted. It is just, in today's leagues, it's a killer. They don't take their foot off the gas, and they don't lose. They do not hand you games. And they're able to will that same thing out of other players on the roster. It's really amazing. But we're not seeing as much of that, you know? So, I don't know. Amsterdam is still trying to create shit in the chat room. I'm trying to ignore it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you so many examples of guys who were superstars and prolific at their positions, but they turn it on and they would turn it off just as quick. The football players you always remember are the guys like Mike Singletary and that wide-eyed thing and called amphetamines. And, you know, guys like Dick Butkus. And for your team, Joe, you know, your linebacker, the killer. I don't like to use his name, Stabomania, but no, I mean, he was ready for every goddamn game, you know, and you got to be. In professional football, we've seen it in Cleveland over and over again. If you're not ready to play, they'll just push you around the field. And we saw it again last year, you know, when we played the Raiders. We weren't ready to play. It was obvious the team collectively wasn't ready to play. You cannot take a week off. Everybody is good enough to kick your ass if you're not putting out. It's amazing. So, it's hard to find the gifted, the talented with drive that equals the talent. And those are the guys we end up talking about. You think, well, there's a reason why nobody liked Larry Bird. There's a reason why nobody liked Michael Jordan. There's a reason why nobody likes LeBron James today. Seriously. Because they dedicate themselves so much to the game that they're not the guys who are going to hang out with you after the game. They're not the guys, you know, they're about playing the game and winning the game. That's what they're about. Nothing more, nothing less.
Oh, Joe, we have plenty of hate for Art Modell. Don't you worry.
Why is Art Modell being talked about?
But shouldn't you, he's saying, sorry, off topic, but shouldn't Cleveland hate Art Modell and not the city of Baltimore?
I don't have I've never had a problem with the city of Baltimore. I mean,
yeah, all of our hate is pretty much directed at one man. So,
yeah, you know, what I'll tell you is this. If you're the city of Baltimore and Irsay packs up the truck in the middle of the night, takes off and goes to Indy, and you find yourself the team of Johnny Unitas, John Mackey, and you find yourself without a football team. Yeah, without a football team. One morning you wake up and it's just fucking gone in a moving van. Yeah, that's Robert Irsay. I got nothing bad to say about Indianapolis, although I could probably share a few things with you. Has nothing to do. Any city will recruit once they lose a big league franchise, and the Ravens, you know, who took the Browns through Art Modell, needed professional football back in their city. And look, Baltimore, I don't know how old you are, Joe. Well, you're 37, he says, you know. There's been a renaissance in Baltimore, in their downtown area. And Baltimore was looking rather sickly for a good long time. And then things started turning around. You know, Camden Yards got built, beautiful baseball park. But getting the Cleveland Browns to move to Baltimore was good business by the city. Tax revenue that was lost because of Irsay's leaving, businesses that were located near where the stadium was, eateries, and all the places that would benefit from having 60, 70,000 fans at a game, came back. It helped the city. They didn't make a wrong decision. The fact is that Art Modell lied. Art Modell was a shyster. It has nothing to do with Baltimore. If you gave me a chance, I would urinate not only on Art Modell's grave, I'd have him exhumed and urinate on his decomposed bones. That's what I think of Art Modell. And the reason I think that way of him, he was an anti-Semite, and I grew up in Ohio. I know about Art Modell. I know about the senior Rooney. I know about who these people were. Fucking John Birchers. They were real bad fucking news people. And Modell was a phony to begin with because he pretended he had money that he didn't really have. See Andre Rison. I got nothing good to say about Art Modell. And that the Ravens won the Super Bowl, was it painful to me? No. Because what's been painful is watching what the Browns didn't do when they got a franchise back and hiring the worst front office people. God rest his soul, Dwight Clark. God rest his soul, Now, I hate to speak ill of the dead, but you can't put people into these positions that they have absolutely no experience in. You had front offices that were constantly warring factions, head coaches who, what the hell a Chris Palmer was, besides the engineer on a runaway train. I have no idea what he was. Hiring Butch Davis in order to get a name. And quite honestly, Butch Davis it's different when you're in college, and pushing young kids around. And he turned out to be a spy, planting, all kinds of things, and players ended up not trusting him at all. And then having to get the ownership change so quickly with the passing and getting Randy Lerner, which God only knows, the guy was autistic. I'm sorry. Guy should never have been in a position where he owned a football team because, and while it's better that an owner be invisible, see Jimmy Haslam, I will tell you this, it's different when you hire capable people to let them run the show, as opposed to Randy Lerner, who would run away to drink his tea and eat his crumpets somewhere in England and leave a bunch of incompetent people fighting with one another in the front office. Crazy shit. Absolutely crazy shit. So, no, I have no problem with the cities involved. It's the people. And, I think that some of the people I learned to love, who is the center who in the year after still wore the Browns do-rag under his helmet? Who was that?
Oh, shit.
Why am I forgetting his name? Somebody's got to know that in the chat room. Yeah, he took his helmet off. He got fined for it, too. He took his helmet off. And he was the former center for the Cleveland Browns. I believe he was an offensive lineman.
Was that Steve Everett?
Yeah, Steve Everett. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was going to say Everett, and I didn't remember his first name. Yeah, unbelievable.
Center from Michigan.
Yeah, takes his helmet off, and he's got the Browns do-rag. And it was like, that was like the coolest thing I ever saw. I never, I would never take a Super Bowl if that's what it took for the athletes to achieve the goal that they were looking to achieve and experience, taking so many years away from their lives and their life expectancy. If it had to happen in Baltimore, it happened in Baltimore. And say this for how it all went down. Ozzie Newsom is a great Cleveland Brown, and was a great manager for the Ravens. You get the right people in who have a plan and an idea and stick to that plan and are cohesive about it, you get a good football team. And we didn't have that in Cleveland. And until you get it, you're never going to be happy as a fan. So I'm happy for the fans in Baltimore that you had that kind of cogent approach.
The one player that I
Now,
was happy that was on that first Super Bowl team um, was Matt Stover.
yeah, I mean, guys who played through the ignominy of playing, for Bill Belichick and going through, God knows what in Cleveland, and the whole demise and seeing the fans stricken by the loss of the team, that they accomplished what they accomplished is great stuff for them. Don't begrudge them in any way, shape, or form. Because it's like I keep saying, so far, I've lived to see a Cavaliers championship. Game 7, they weren't supposed to win. And I saw it. And I quietly celebrated. And I'm hoping that my Cleveland Browns will be able to put themselves in a position where they get into the playoffs, and when they have the opportunity that they had against the Chiefs, when you got somebody on the ropes, you put them away. And hopefully that propels you into the ultimate game. And then whatever happens, get me into the Super Bowl, man, as a fan. Get my team into the Super Bowl. I'll take my chances. With my gunslinger and my running backs, whatever, I'll take my chances. You can't win it unless you get there. I know it's trite, but it's true. You got to get through the landmine in order to get into the final battle. That's what I'm hoping for. So, that's and now Rick Carlisle's not returning as the Mavericks coach after 13 seasons. It gets to a point where you just can't do it anymore,
Well, that's his longest stay at any team. So,
well, I mean, the thing is, he's been successful, but he's not a guy who trifles with young players, and it's getting harder and harder to have an approach like Tom Thibodeau has and get anywhere with the players. They will revolt. And, I'm sure that you burn out after a while. I see that former OSU quarterback is buying into the Bears' plan to start Andy Dalton at quarterback. It's a smart thing. If I'm Justin Fields, I don't want to end up Trubisky to death,
Well, you also don't want to end up David Carr to death.
Well, that's it. I mean,
here, Andy, you go ahead and take all those hits. I'll just play whenever you get hurt, which should be in about 4 weeks.
Yeah, remember when we put Deshaun Kaiser out on the field? He had no idea how to run an NFL offense. I mean, nobody knows whether Justin Fields can or he can't. Give him time to learn. Hell, it took Aaron Rodgers 5 years sitting on the bench to learn. So, give him time. And as for Andy Dalton, and you're not going to win with Andy Dalton. You might as well have Mitch Trubisky. If you want an underpowered arm, except in an older body, that's what you've got. But they're not in a position right now to win. And what the organization is saying is, we're not in a position to win yet. And when we think we are, we're going to put Justin Fields on the field when we think he has a chance to impact the game. So nobody wants to sit on the bench,
Yeah.
So everyone wants to see the young quarterback play, but it's not the smart thing to do. So I see that Isaac Okoro was named to the NBA All-Rookie second team. Well, isn't that nice?
I don't even know who the hell that is.
Isaac Okoro is the guy that we got in our last draft, last year, and came in as the reputation of being kind of a defensive-oriented guy, but they were playing him out of position at the 3, and he was getting eaten alive, and he needs to work on his shot. And that was known when he was in college that he needed. I mean, this is a guy who's got to literally shoot up every day hundreds and hundreds of perimeter shots to get his offensive game dangerous from the perimeter. He showed an ability to get to the basket. He's got good hops, but he's just like Giannis or anybody else. You can't make a living with people like Eric Snow, people giving you 5 feet in front of you. So you can't drive to the basket. You've got to be able to bury people. When you prove that you can hit the perimeter shot, that's going to take you to the next level. But Isaac Okoro, was the number 5 pick in last year's draft. He only averaged 9.6 points a game. So the second team of the all-rookie team, the other guys who were on the second team were Emmanuel Quickley, who was a guy who came on quickly for the New York Knicks, Desmond Bane from the Grizzlies, Isaiah Stewart from the Pistons, and Patrick Williams from the Bulls.
Stewart.
Yeah, I mean,
he likes winger.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be a process. I hate using that word. He played his best basketball in the end of the season, averaging in May 15.7 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 2.5 assists in about 35 minutes of playing out on the floor. So, I think that how good are any of these players that are drafted? Only as good as they are hard workers. Because Isaac Okoro won't last in the NBA if he doesn't learn how to get separation and shoot from the perimeter. He ain't going to last. You got to be able to do it. And this
sounds like Anderson Hunt.
Oh, there's so many players who never, I think the ultimate example of a physically gifted player who never learned how to shoot was Darius Miles. People don't remember. Former Cavalier and Clipper. Darius Miles couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, but he could jump like he was on a pogo stick. He was athletic, but he couldn't shoot the ball for shit. And these are the types of people who fritter opportunities away because they didn't take their one chance seriously enough. Mike Prefer is saying that the kick and punt return positions are wide open. We don't go into the season with a predisposed feeling about who's who. Dearness Johnson and Donovan Peoples-Jones are the incumbents, but I honestly don't want to see Donovan Peoples-Jones getting himself injured on the field, returning kicks when he really isn't that good at it. JoJo Natson, who's going to have to prove that he can do more than Demetric Felton. That's going to be hard because JoJo Natson weighs 167 pounds soaking wet. Unless he proves to be the next Ice Cube McNeil, JoJo Natson ain't going to make it. Because you're going to need people who can do more than just return kicks. Ryan Switzer is another guy, but, my feeling is Demetric Felton is going to be the one who finds not special teams as his one way on the field. I think that he's going to have packages that he is part of. Huh? You have to tell us what you're laughing about.
Amsterdam. JoJo Starbuck has a better chance.
Yeah, with Terry Bradshaw, yeah. But I will tell you that they're going to set up all kinds of plays, and it's going to use him as a wide receiver, a slot receiver, an occasional play, running play. I think Demetric Felton is set up to have more time on the field. I think, personally, JoJo Natson is going to get the first crack at this. And I think Dearness Johnson is going to have a hard time making the roster.
Yes.
That's what I believe will happen. And Natson, I don't think his body will hold up to the punishment. Then there's Anthony Schwartz, who now we find out has a hamstring injury. Go figure. Just the show after I said, I've been hearing that this guy has a history of soft tissue injuries. Here we go. But Prefer made a comment that we should all listen to. He could run 4.25 seconds to the 40-yard dash, and that could be a huge advantage. But Prefer cautioned that he'll need to ensure that Schwartz is comfortable catching kicks and punts. How about passes? You say,
well, he doesn't coach that, so.
No, but I mean, the bottom line
and you definitely don't want the Scottish Hammer throwing another fucking pass.
Never again. And I'll say this about Schwartz. His speed alone will keep him on the roster through this year and into next year. But if he can't catch a football, he'll be gone with the wind. It'll be over real, real quick. Wanted to point out one thing before I get out of here. And by the way, the Indians are playing tonight, and Mejia will be pitching against the Pirates at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Joe Woods, I wanted to look at his career and his history, and to make it brief, this guy has not been a defensive coordinator. He is a defensive back coach. And this is where everything is going to become very, very interesting. Joe Woods is a great guy to impart knowledge to the safeties and the cornerbacks who are new in this league because he's worked with a lot of them. But defensive coordinator? We'll see. I'm not going to hold last year against him because God only knows he did not have talent. But there's nothing on his record that would suggest that he's really defensive coordinator material. His whole career, whether it was working as a defensive backs coach with the Bucks in 2004, he was brought to Minnesota along with defensive coordinator Mike Tomlin. You know that he's a defense-first guy. Woods was there to work with him as a secondary coach. He coached the Raiders' defensive backs in 2014. Then in his first season coaching the Broncos secondary in 2015, they had a really great defense, and the next year they had a really good defense too. But the fact is that he was working with the secondaries. They were very effective in Denver against the forward pass. Unfortunately, at the time, they didn't have a quarterback, God only knows. But they were holding teams to around 200 yards passing per game. Those are his credentials. He comes to the 49ers in 2019 as a defensive back coach. And a year later, he's with the Browns as a defensive coordinator. So we'll see. I don't want to say anything good or bad, but we know that Stefanski, we didn't know what kind of head coach he'd be. We had an idea what kind of an offensive coordinator he'd be because he learned from people, and we saw what he had done in his season with Kirk Cousins. And that is pretty much what he did with Baker Mayfield.
And honestly, the Browns turning him down for the head coaching job might have actually been better because he went back and was the offensive coordinator and called plays and organized the offense. So I think that actually kind of helped create the 11-5 season.
Yeah, thanks for asking about Rocks, Joe. Rocks, these days, schedule-wise, it's gotten kind of funky because as daylight has expanded, she's walking the dog because she can walk it later without having the horrible heat. We're in the midst of a horrible humidity and heat and a lot of rain as well. And she, during this time, walks the dog. So that's why you're not seeing her. But she'll be back around.
It's 1:15 in the desert, by the way.
There you go. I mean, yeah. Here, it's all humidity. It's all humidity. It's like it'll be 89, 90 degrees, but feel like 102, and it's all humidity that's just, and I'm going to have to go out and play tennis tomorrow, and this God only knows. I got to get out of here because I'm sitting too long and I got to stretch my body out here. But I appreciate everybody in the chat room. And believe me, Joe, we'll be here to talk about the Ravens and the Browns. I'll be even-handed about this because, I'm curious to see what kind of a passer Lamar Jackson can be. And I'm really curious whether Harbaugh can get over the hump. Harbaugh's like Tom Thibodeau. He's like Budenholzer. He doesn't get over the hump. He's defense first. I want to see if they can actually create something beyond the Roman Empire running quarterback. So we'll see. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this edition of Moohead Radio. We will be back again on Monday, talking sports like we always do. Thanks for being here, Brian. I appreciate it. You know that. And until next time, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.